Please click like and subscribe and that little notification bell for the next episode.
This right here behind us is a sculpture that's actually made of Joliet limestone on the bottom. And it symbolizes the lift bridges, which when you come to Joliet, you gotta love our bridges. We have 4 of the 5 different kinds of lift bridges over the Des Plaines River throughout Joliet. And so this demonstrates just one of those.
Oh, I see.
So when you drive by, you will notice the Route 66 insignias and signs directing you to Joliet Kicks on Route 66 for the Welcome Center. But the actual historical museum is in the old Methodist Church on the corner of Cass and Ottawa Streets.
Oh.
Well, we're entering the historical museum. First, you'll sit in this gallery area and you'll actually watch a video of all the history, kind of a flash montage of Joliet history. The doors will open and it'll reveal this life-size canal, because Joliet is actually the city of steel and stone. And we get that from the Des Plaines River, or the I&M Canal. But people actually, like these models up here, and yes, they're models, although they look realistic, worked on the canal with mules and gathered limestone to build many of our historic buildings throughout our town. Like I said, Joliet was the city of steel and stone, and steel, well, nothing says more steel than the railroads. So if you can look above, then we'll see one of our railroad workers is pining away. Well, we continue through the historical museum with an exhibit on lifestyle at home. This is particularly depicting a parlor and a kitchen over here behind you to the typical Joliet Victorian family. Now, Vince, he said all aboard, so we better step up. It's the Joliet trolley, and it's going to take us on a tour through historic Joliet. You get in this pretty much life-size trolley right here in the center of the Joliet Area Historical Museum. Sit down for a ride on an interactive TV screen that'll actually have all the bells and whistles and narration of the history of Joliet. We've got the old historic street in Joliet, complete with the Rialto Square Theater marquee sign, and we're going to go check them out a little bit later. But picture shows that used to be shown there are all the fancy dresses and clothes in the downtown shops, and we continue to see all the different offices, buildings, and shops throughout Joliet that would have been back then. Well, we've headed upstairs in the museum, and as you can see, we're kind of a little more of a time warp. We're heading into the 50s, and all the different artifacts and events that happened in Joliet at that time. For instance, Joliet was named an All-American City, so you can read about the campaign and the key people that were part of that process. But these actually are documenting some of the new businesses that came to Joliet along Jefferson Street, the independent living structures, and the actual first mall that came to Joliet, Louis Joliet Mall. This actually documents where we are right now, with 2 great casinos, both Harrah's and Empress. Harrah's is actually located just seconds from here. Well, we've exited the museum, we've had a great time, and we encourage everybody to come back. We're on the corner here with one of our murals and mosaics, which you'll find sprinkled throughout the entire city of Joliet by our Friends of Community Public Art. This specific one is actually devoted to Route 66, and you'll notice within it all kinds of Route 66 icons, shields, and information. Now, we're going to head down through downtown Joliet, lots of great restaurants and cool attractions, and end up at the historic Rialto Square Theater, which actually today, of all days, over 30 years, they have not lowered the large chandelier in the center of the Rialto. We're going to get to meet the Duchess today.
Absolutely. Remember when we were in that theater, they had the walls were full of all the signatures?
That's right.
It's probably the oldest theater on Route 66, isn't it, John?
It's the oldest operating theater, continuously operating. There's a couple a little bit older, but they've been closed down for years and they remodel them. This is continuously operating. It actually opened on May 24th, 1926. Route 66 began right in front of here on November 11th, 1926. So it's actually a little bit older than Route 66 in itself.
What was the alignment after this one in front of the Rialto?
After this, they had to move it over a little bit, so they went to Ottawa Street where the museum is at. And then they had to move it again. So Ottawa Street is 66 and Scott Street, which is over there on the other side. So all three are legitimate Route 66 alignments. Eventually, though, that Route 66 became so popular, along with the Joliet Arsenal and the business district here, that they had to divert it around Joliet. So Route 66 began here, but then they moved it around, and then they changed it to 66A, or alternate, because it was so congested. They had to bring the people around it in the years.
So what was the final alignment? The last one?
It keeps changing. It still keeps changing because it's historic 66 now. And so now we have areas we call spurs. You're going to see that. And that's a little piece of alignment. We've got abandoned pieces of alignment. It's just all over the place. We've taken the routings that have the most amount of attractions on it.
Yes.
And that's what we promote. That's where your signage is going to be, where we want to direct the people. There may be other alignments, but we can just get people confused that way, and there isn't necessarily something worthwhile to see. So our signage brings you to the most active areas.